it's Penny from Blush here again. I received a very exciting package on Monday, or for me. I had ordered the relatively new Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look in a palette, and this is the natural look, which I'd kind of coveted for a while. And I'll just show you it. And I've got two trials today, so I thought this is a good time. I've got to do my makeup anyway, it's a good time to use it. So I'll go through that more in a little bit. I also ordered the new Pillow Talk lipstick. Charlotte Tilbury's really generous with samples, so they sort of automatically give you 3 or 4 and then you can choose another 3 or 4. So basically today can be an pretty much entire Charlotte Tilbury face. So I started off with Charlotte's Magic Cream, which feels quite thick when you sort of rub it into your fingers, but as soon as you put it on your face it really does melt into the skin and does feel really nice. And I also used her Magic Eye Rescue Cream, which again is very, very light and feels beautiful. They also sent me Wonder Glow, which is kind of a sort of a facial luminizer you're supposed to put all over your face, which I did do. It's sort of a champagne-y golden colour with a few shimmery, very, very fine shimmery flecks. I've done my base. I have to say I can't really see that coming through, so it's probably not something that I would buy. I've also used her Magic Foundation, which they sent me, and I have to say I don't like it. I found that it feels quite heavy going onto the skin, and it has sat in pores that I don't generally find that foundation sits in sort of on my cheeks. I really had to blend it well with my beauty blender. Normally I only have to do that sort of around the nose, chin and middle of my forehead. It does feel a little bit tacky, so I'm not a huge fan of that. But what I am a huge fan of is her concealer, which is called the Retoucher, which I've just used for the first time, and it's got great coverage, but it's really light. I think it's a recurring theme in Charlotte Tilbury products. They do all feel really light and melt into the skin, and it's given excellent coverage on my dark circles, which are terrible, so you can still see them, but for me it's about minimising them rather than getting rid of them, because I just won't ever get rid of them because of the shape of my eye. So it's done really well on those, and I've got a few blemishes which it's covered. Excuse my hair, it's in dire need of a cut, so I've just put a few waves through it, but it's not looking at its best, so next Tuesday it will be looking great again, hopefully. Okay, so I've used all those, so I've done my base. I've also put a really light dusting of Charlotte Mercier powder on, which is the loose setting powder, the translucent one, and so ready to use the palette. So this palette is beautifully packaged. It feels expensive, it's quite heavy. I also really like that it's got a very large mirror so that you could use it to do your makeup and it be an adequate size rather than on the tiny compacts, which are actually, they're kind of helpful, but they're not great at seeing your whole face. So in the palette, you've got a bronzer and a highlighter, 2 cheek colours, I'll go through how to use those, and then 3 eye colours. They all have printed on them how to use them. Obviously those prints will go as you use the product. However, by the time you've got to that point, hopefully you'll be quite au fait with the palette. So the 3 eye shades are Brighten, Enhance and Smoke. Now Charlotte Tilbury does say, she's got some sort of YouTube videos on how to use this, so I'll kind of use it generally how she says to, but I might change a couple of bits. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a flat-headed brush. This is a really old Benefit brush, which they don't do anymore sadly, but I love it. It's a flat-headed eyeshadow brush. So I'm going to pop it's kind of like a pinky matte shade, which is the Brighten shade, and I'm going to pop it all over my eyelid. And then I'm going to, you don't have to be too precise about this because it's literally just a kind of slightly brightening skin shade, as long as you are quite pale. I think if you had darker skin, more olive tone, you'd be better off with one of the other palettes that she has. I can't remember the name of them right now, but there are some sort of darker palettes which would probably be better, otherwise this might be just a little bit too pale. Okay, so the next shade is Enhance, which is this middle shade here. It's a champagne-y, slightly shimmery shade. Again, I'm going to use my flat-headed brush, and I'm just going to pop that just on my lid and up to my crease. It's a really pretty peachy shade, which is going to be great for sort of spring, summer. So it kind of, it's not really obvious, but it's kind of just going to add a little bit of depth to the eye. So that's just going up to the socket. Now in her video, Charlotte uses this smoke shade here just on the lash line. I'm going to go a little bit into my socket. The reason being, I've got quite hooded eyes, if you can see, and when I open my eyes, the lids just sort of come down near to my lash line rather than sort of staying up here. They have always been like that. It's not just because I'm mid-30s now. So the smoke shade's kind of like a mid-brown. It's a matte colour. It's a really lovely colour. So I'm going to do just a sort of windscreen wiper motion into my socket. If you want to get the placement right, you can do it with your eye open. Small circles. And I'm using the MAC 217 blending brush, which is probably my favourite brush of all time. Okay, just taking that down onto the lid. I tend to leave my lash line bare a lot of the time, just because I find it opens my eye up a little bit more. It varies person to person. Okay. So again, windscreen wipers, small circles. And the point of this is just to sort of get a bit of contouring in the socket to make your eye look more wide awake. It's a pretty colour. It's quite natural, but it defines nicely. Okay, I'm going to use the Charlotte smudger brush, Charlotte Tilbury smudger brush, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this under my lash line. I only ever do this lightly because for me, I have to be careful about liner under my eyes or anything under my eyes that can make them look a bit tired. And I might just take it actually just onto the outer third of my lash line to kind of continue that. I'm just going to get a cotton bud. Take a little bit of that off. Okay, fine. Right, so, bit powdery. Okay, fine. So I'm going to do brows now. Now, I don't use the Charlotte Tilbury brow product. I use... I brought the wrong thing in. That's very helpful. I'm going to use a pencil. I normally use the Anastasia Dip Brow. However, I've managed to bring the wrong thing in. So that's not very helpful. So let's find an eyebrow pencil. Here we are. Okay. And I'm just going to highlight the arch in my brow. I'll do a video at some point on brows. And then bring the pencil down. And I always extend the tail of my eyebrow slightly. Just because my eyebrows are quite short and I find it's nice, it looks nicer for me. It's better for me when they're lengthened slightly. Unfortunately, I've got a spot in a not very helpful place on my eyebrow. So I just put a little bit of concealer just to disguise that a bit better. Okay. So again, just the high point of the brow And then if you brush up, you can then see if you need any product anywhere else. Okay. Fab. Right, I'm going to pop a little bit of clear brow gel on. This is the Pixie brow gel, which I got in my Marks and Spencer's advent calendar, which I can't rave about enough. It was £35 when you spent £35, and I totted up all the cost of the products, and it was over £250, so amazing. Okay, fine. So on to face. I'm going to use this bronzing shade first. I'm going to use quite a large brush. That's just how I like to apply bronze, and I'm going to put it onto the brush, and then I'm just going to shake any excess off. And I'm going to apply just to my cheekbone. Now, usually I use a cream bronzer and highlighter. So I use the Tom Ford shade in Illuminate. So this is kind of new for me. I'm going to go up onto my forehead and my temple, so in like a C shape. Just be careful when you're applying bronzer that you don't end up with a brown stripe across your forehead, like someone I saw a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to do a light bronze. And the bronze is lovely actually. It looks in the palette like it's got a bit of a shimmer, but actually I can't see it on my skin. And this is just going to define, just going under my jawline, this is just going to define cheekbones slightly. I always go under my jawline as well, just gives a kind of a sharper jaw effect. Okay, so that's the bronze contour done. And then going in for the blushes. So there are two blush shades. There's the Swish shade and the Pop shades. Oh, sorry, Swish and Pop. So the idea is that the Swish shade goes all over your, sort of the apple of your cheek, and then blended up towards your temple. And then the Pop shade is to be used just in the apple of the cheek. So this Swish shade is kind of a really lovely, almost like a tea rose shade. So apple of the cheek and then up towards the cheekbone. And it's great having two shades for me because I love quite a lot of blush, so this kind of Pop shade is going to give a bit of definition. Okay, so I'm going to dip my brush in the Pop shade and then just pop a little bit, ooh, pretty, on the apple of my cheek. So that just gives a really brightening effect. Okay, right, mascara. So I use Max Factor Masterpiece Max. I love it. It's the best mascara I've found. I'm trying to do this quickly because I haven't figured out how to use a pause button on my iPad. But I don't want to bore everyone rigid. So just do one coat, as I've said before, because I don't want this look to be too lashy. It's only natural for the day. Right, and then the final shade I'm just going to use with a small, this is my Real Techniques brush that I really love. I'm going to dip it in the highlight shade and just going to pop it along my cheekbones. It's like a pale champagne-y colour. You go just Cupid's bow, which accentuates the lips, and then just very lightly with what's left on the brush down the centre of my nose. Might pop a tiny bit on my brow bone as well. Okay, so lastly, I'm just going to pop the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lip liner on. I'm quite lucky in that I've got a good shape to my lips, so I don't have to worry too much about redrawing, but this is great for anyone who does have to redraw slightly. It's really close to a lip colour. It's a really pretty colour actually on its own, just with a bit of lip balm. So this is Pillow Talk. It's a lovely shape actually. It's great for just applying straight from the bullet, which I shall do. And we'll see. Feels nice and creamy actually. I think it looks a bit darker on the video than it is. I probably wouldn't wear it if I had really, really dry lips, or would, but maybe pop a little bit of Vaseline or something over the top. But it feels nice. So this is the look. Really like this palette. It's going to be great for travelling. Literally just having to take that palette and then a couple of extra products. It's gone on really well, and hopefully it will wear. What I'll do is I'll add and sort of edit to the comments on how it's worn after a few hours. Yeah, so I hope you like this. And this palette retails at £49. I think it's well worth it. Her other products are, I mean, they're all relatively expensive. They're high end, but with the amount of product you get, I think this is really good value. Yeah, and the lipstick's lovely, I think, for every day. So thank you very much. Bye.